I'm Simi Pasha and you're watching Good News Today. Over the next half an hour, we'll bring you positive stories of hope and courage. Stories that don't necessarily make headlines, but showcase the triumph of the human spirit. First up, the remarkable story of a tribal woman from Jharkhand whose tireless and relentless work in the field of polio eradication was first recognized by the UN, and she's now been awarded the Florence Nightingale Award by the President of India.
ये बात सही है, जहाँ कोई नहीं जाना चाहता वहाँ मैं जाने के लिए तैयार रहती हूँ हर हमेशा। जब भी कहते हैं तो जाने के लिए मैं तैयार रहती हूँ, जहाँ भी कहते हैं जैसे भी जाना हो हम जाके रहते हैं और काम करके आते हैं।
Martha Dodre is a midwife who doesn't know the word compromise. When it comes to work, she believes in getting it done by whatever means that may require. A driver of Palamu, Martha was posted to Health Center of Bihar's Darbhanga district 8 years ago. She walked several kilometers each day to reach the remote and inaccessible villages to administer polio vaccines to hundreds of children, mostly belonging to the poorest of the poor.
यहाँ 8 साल से मैं काम कर रही हूँ। 2005 में यहाँ आई हूँ। जब से आई हूँ तब से मैं वहीं काम कर रही हूँ।
Last November, this 40-year-old was honored at the Global Leadership Awards dinner of 2013, hosted by the UN Foundation. The good news is, this year Martha received the prestigious National Florence Nightingale Award from the President for her extraordinary work to eradicate polio.
In what came as a huge shock for the Punjab government, a study ordered by it revealed that a huge percentage of drug addicts in the state belong to its own police force. The good news is that instead of brushing the problem under the carpet, the state government decided to tackle it head on and is now actively sending addicted police officers to rehab centers.
When those entrusted with enforcing drug prohibition themselves become addicts, you know there's a problem at hand. The Punjab government has suddenly woken up to this grim reality. Thousands of policemen in Punjab are believed to be drug addicts themselves. A worried government has now set up a de-addiction center for cops.
आपको अच्छा लग रहा है कि एसएसपी साहब मतलब जो नशा करने वालों को हटाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं? कितने के पुलिस वाले और भी करते हैं आपके जो साथी हैं, आपको पता है?
हाँ तो तेरे को आते हैं कि पता नहीं लग रहा है, कहीं घूमते चोरी करी जाते हैं।
So widespread is drug addiction among Punjab's youth that it became a major issue in the recent polls.
ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਸਾਈਡ ਲਾਈਨ ਪੋਸਟਿੰਗ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਸੁਧਾਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਬਖਸ਼ਣੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ये तो ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣੇ ਲੈਵਲ पे ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਫਾਈ ਕੀਤੇ हैं। हमने कोई ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ यूनिफॉर्म 'ਚ ਫੜਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਜੇ ਫੜਿਆ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਡੈਫੀਨਿਟਲੀ ਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਉਸ ਤੇ।
The government has also launched other initiatives to battle addiction among youth. The government will now provide free medicines to people undergoing treatment for addiction in OPDs of government hospitals. A mass awareness campaign would be launched and the CM has asked a panel of experts and policemen to be formed in all districts.
We have to work out both ways. If they are involved in drugs, then they will be dismissed. If they have become addicts, then we will ask them to go to de-addiction centers.
The fact that Punjab government has woken up to the reality ensures the fight against drug will be effectively tackled. Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Our next story comes from Pune, where a woman entrepreneur, after working at a biogas plant, decided to establish one such unit inside her very home. Alpana's kitchen is now powered by bio-green gas. Here's her story.
We were using 9 cylinders or 10 cylinders per year. But this year I use only 3 to 4 cooking LPG cylinders and rest is saving. I use this biogas only.
Any homemaker would be proud to say that. The secret behind that winning smile on Alpana Vijay Kumar is the biogas plant she has built in her house.
First I used to work on large scale biogas plants. Actually this plant we little bit modified it and we tried to use it according to our conveniences. And for this plant, actually we spend in the first for first plant or so, we spend somewhere around 20 to 25,000 rupees.
For past 1 year, Alpana has been going door to door to collect garbage to run her biogas plant. Her efforts have encouraged others in the neighborhood of Pune's Bavadhan area. It cleaned her locality and made her kitchen green.
नहीं अजीब, इसलिए मैडम ने पहले बार चालू किया था, अजीब लगता था। फिर क्या बोलती थी मैडम? नहीं, मैडम बोलती थी कचरा मत फेंको बाहर, मेरे पास लाके दो। फिर मैडम कचरा किससे ले मांगता था, इसलिए मेरे को मालूम नहीं, वो मैडम ने बोला बायो गैस के लिए चाहिए, इसलिए हम लोग फेंकते थे कचरा, में बाद में उसको देते थे।
Nowadays, all of them are asking that if there is a small plant which will be useful for only for ourselves. Actually, when we start the plant, it takes firstly it takes 21 days to start the plant in full-fledged. But once it starts in full-fledged capacity, I put a daily 3.5 kg of kitchen waste. And daily I am getting 1.5 hours cooking energy or 2 hours cooking energy.
The corporation has given rebate and Alpana has already started to make waves in the green belt. With Pankaj Khelkar in Pune, Ruchira Sharma, Headlines Today.
Up next, a story of a 41-year-old self-proclaimed socialist who successfully managed to change US laws to ensure that daily wagers are able to earn a respectable living. Here's her story.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace!
Shama Sawant, a self-described socialist born in Pune, successfully brought about change in the laws in US. This 41-year-old was elected to the Seattle City Council last November. She campaigned hard to raise the hourly wages for workers to $15. Her slogans and movement are anathema in a country where socialism and socialists are treated with deep suspicion and disdain. But her campaign ignited support from the working class among the 400,000-strong electoral college in a liberal city that is known for big companies such as Microsoft and Boeing.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace!
On 2nd of June, the Seattle City Council passed legislations that will phase in the $15 an hour minimum wage over 3 to 7 years, making it the city with the highest minimum wage in America. That will be almost double the $7 an hour federal minimum wage and far higher than the $10 an hour proposed by the US President Barack Obama himself.
Or in the American justice system as a whole.
Up next on Good News Today, we'll be joined by in-house techie Siddharth Sharma.
And I'll get you all the good news from the world of science and technology. Now, the idea of a solar-powered car may seem a little far-fetched, but scientists in Georgia Institute of Technology in America are developing a technology that might spark a revolution in sun-powered transportation. Let's have a look.
It's called the C-Max Solar Energy Concept Car, and it represents the first realistic step towards designing a car that will tap into the power of the sun. But turning what may be a great idea into solar-powered reality has never been viable. With current technology, rooftop of cars are not capable of providing the energy density needed to generate sufficient power. But mechanical engineer Brett Brass from America's Georgia Institute of Technology, in collaboration with the Ford Motor Company, has found a solution. He envisioned a carport-like structure fitted with a specialized lens that would act like a magnifying glass, concentrating sunlight onto the rooftop solar panel of a car.
You create a large lens, a Fresnel lens above it, that then funnels the light onto the roof, and that basically amplifies the light that the photovoltaics get, and therefore they start producing more electricity in the same amount of time.
Essentially, the sun tracking technology enables the car to harness 8 times more energy than what solar panels can produce without the lens, enough to run the vehicle for 34 kilometers on solar power alone. And it seems that the concept car offers a sustainable solution to future transportation as well.
One thing you have to understand is with electric vehicles, it is good to electrify and maybe you get like internal combustion engines of the car and the CO2 goes down, but if you power it using a coal-fired power plant, you may not get all the benefits. So Ford is pushing on 2 levels. It's like, yes, we want to get electrification, but we also want to get renewable energy, green and clean energy that actually powers it.
Still under development, the concept car has raised a few eyebrows. But for Brett Brass, the question is not if solar power cars can become commercially viable, but when.
Now time for some good news from Latin America. An 11-year-old Argentine boy has had a new grip on life thanks to a prosthetic hand made by designers on a 3D printer. The hand is simple yet effective and a blessing in disguise for the boy and his family.
"11-year-old Felipe Miranda, who was born with no fingers on his left hand, uses a prosthetic. But it's not a conventional prosthetic. It was created in a studio in Buenos Aires where industrial designer Gonzalo Sanchez rents 3D printers to create all kinds of objects. But before Felipe's mother contacted him, Sanchez says he had never created a prosthetic hand.
She asked us if we would be able to help her, and we told her that we would look into it. We started going through different files that were on the internet and doing different tests until we were able to modify some things. And by interchanging pieces, we could create the hand that Felipe is now able to use. And while this is certainly not the most sophisticated looking prosthetic, it seems to do the job rather well for little Felipe. As for Felipe's mother, the 3D designed hand is a blessing in disguise.
Finally, researchers in Columbia University have successfully grown a human cartilage for the first time in medical history. How did they achieve this scientific breakthrough? Well, up next on Good News Today, we tell you exactly how.
These might look like tiny pearls to the common eye, but they are in fact the beginnings of a fully functional human cartilage. Scientists at New York's Columbia University for the first time have grown them using stem cells derived from the human bone marrow. But this was no easy task to achieve. Past efforts to produce cartilage in the lab from young animal cells resulted in tissue that was often too weak for practical use in humans. So researchers at Columbia University studied how cartilage in the human body develops and attempted to mimic the process in their lab.
These stem cells, we know that it can turn into bone, can turn into cartilage, can turn into fat. So we take them and we use this, we call it fabrication technique, which based on developmental process where the stem cells condense. We base everything we do in the lab to what happened during development when we were fetus or when we were young.
The experiment worked, and the technology is simple but efficient. And according to scientists, this method will eventually be able to help people regrow parts of their body.
This is a kind of technology that should, in principle, make it possible to regenerate any piece of bone interfaced with cartilage in the body. So we do have technology, we do understand underlying principles.
While this is a major milestone in the study of stem cell research, it is just the first step. The next phase will test the long-term effects of stem cell-grown cartilage to see how the tissue holds up over time.
That's all we could pack into this edition of Good News Today. You can send us your feedback, tweet the team at HLT Good News. Have a great week.